it's Miss Fiella. I wanted to do a review video for you for your quiz for this week. This is FSA Review Quiz 5. So that is what we're reviewing. For this week, on Tuesday, we learned about adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So I want to review a question like that will probably be on your quiz. I think you have a couple like that. So what's really important is to remember what are your keywords for adding and for subtracting, because you might not know exactly what you're doing in the question. So you have to look for those keywords that tell you what to do. So for example, if you're adding a mixed number, you want to look for those words like total, sum, and, okay? So those are really important for adding. For subtracting, you want to look for those keywords, how much was left, difference. Those are some keywords that you need for how many more. Those are keywords for subtraction, okay? So remember those. So for adding mixed numbers, when we did this lesson, for adding mixed numbers, I like to write my problems across like this. Okay, and then we had steps. So when you add mixed numbers, we're first going to add the whole numbers. And actually, it doesn't matter if you want to. You can add the whole numbers first, or you can add the fractions first, okay? So if we're adding the whole numbers, we're at 4 plus 3 is 7. And then I'm going to add my fractions. 4/5 plus 2/5. I just add the numerators. 4 plus 2 is 6 all over 5. So now what I have here is this is an improper fraction. If you get an improper fraction, you have to change that to a mixed number. So I'm going to keep that 7 wholes. And now I'm going to change this to a mixed number. So I divide. I divide the top number, the numerator, by the bottom number, the denominator. So 6 divided by 5. 5 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. Remember, the number on top of the house is your whole number. The number that's left over is your numerator, and your denominator never changes. So now I'm adding that to the 7 wholes I already had. So now 7 plus 1 and 1/5 is 8 and 1/5. Okay? That is a little review on how you add your mixed numbers. So look for those keywords. You might not have an improper fraction here, and if you don't, then that's your answer, and you don't have to do all these extra steps. Okay? I know some of you were asking me on Imagine Math, and I think on one of your worksheet pages when you got an answer, for example, 2n46. Okay, and then you had to actually change the mixed number to an improper fraction. You do not have to do that on your quiz, but just so you know, remember when we changed a mixed number to an improper fraction, we multiplied, then added. So 6 times 2 was 12. And then you add your numerator. So 12 plus 4 is 16. And your denominator never changes. It's all over 6. Okay? Alrighty, so now subtracting. Okay, so you might get a question about maybe how much candy does Sue have left. Remember, have left, that keyword for subtraction, okay? So if we were to subtract a mixed number, now with subtracting mixed numbers, I like to write it up and down, actually. Okay, and the first thing you have to do with subtracting mixed numbers, you have to start with the fractions. So we're going to subtract the fractions first. Can I do 1/5 minus 3/5? I cannot do 1 minus 3, so I have to regroup. I'm going to borrow from the 8 becomes a 7. I borrowed a whole for this fraction, so I'm going to add the whole over here. But what is a whole for this fraction? It's 5/5. So 1/5 plus 5/5 equals 6/5. Okay? You're not borrowing 10 here and adding 10 to this. Some of you want to add 1/5 plus 10, which would give you 11/5. Okay? That's how we do regular subtraction, but when we're talking about fractions here, a whole is when the numerator and the denominator are the same number. Okay? So I have 6/5 now minus 3/5 gives me 3/5. And now I can subtract my whole numbers. 7 minus 6 is 1. Okay, and there's your answer. So do not forget for your quiz, when you're regrouping, you have to borrow a whole And then you have to think, what is the whole for that fraction? This one, it was 5/5 because my denominator is 5. But if my denominator was 6, I would add 6/6. If my denominator was 4, I would add 4/4. Okay? So that is subtracting. Okay? You then did multiplying a whole number times a mixed number or times a fraction. So if I was making 2 batches of cupcakes, and in each batch I needed 4/6 cups of sugar, how much sugar do I need? Okay? Remember, your keywords for multiplication, big keyword is each, okay? You're going to see that, and I believe the one on your quiz, I'm trying to see it, has the word each, which means we're multiplying. We're not adding and we are not subtracting, okay? So don't get confused with that. So each. So if I had to multiply 2 times 4/6, okay? I'm just multiplying here a whole number times a fraction. When I do that, I just multiply the whole number times the numerator. So 2 times 4 is 8 all over 6. But now that's an improper fraction, so I have to change it to a mixed number, and we divide. We divide the top number 8 divided by the bottom number 6. 6 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. So now, what mixed number did I create here? Remember, the number on top of the house is your whole number. The number that's left over, your remainder, is your numerator, and your denominator doesn't change. So my answer here is 1 and 2/6, okay? You will see a question just like that on your quiz. Okay. If we were to multiply a whole number times a mixed number, something like this, okay, remember we use the distributive property, and I put in the arrows. So I arrowed from my whole number to my other whole number, and then arrow from this whole number to the fraction. So here I'm multiplying 3, arrow to the 2, so 3 times 2, plus 3, arrow to the 1/4, 3 times 1/4. I broke apart my 2 and 1/4, so I'm multiplying 3 times each of those parts. And now I can solve. 3 times 2 is 6, plus, what's 3 times 1/4? Remember, when you multiply a whole number times a fraction, you just multiply the whole number times the numerator. So 3 times 1 is 3 all over 4. So now I'm just adding 6 plus 3/4, which gives me 6 and 3/4. Okay? Alrighty. What else we did this week was area and